It always comes to this. More nice shit. Here to do another tattoo progress update today. Apologize in advance again about the audio on this one and the past few. I do these with the little Rode mic. It's like a little attachment piece that connects to the charge port of your iPhone, and my Rode mic for the third time has busted. The little piece just keeps breaking off inside my phone. I'm not even dropping it or anything. It just, when I'm taking it out, sometimes it's stuck. Anyway, I'll be getting another one shortly. It's on the way. So you'll have to suffer through my terrible audio for a little longer. For anyone who's watched these vlogs for a long time, you'll know that for the first couple years, I did them with no editing of any kind. No pictures, no video intro, no ending, just straight talking. So if you're one of the OG fans of this channel, I feel bad for you. And you'll also know that these sorts of mishaps are commonplace. Now, I'm still getting used to talking with my vampire teeth. Not much of an adjustment for me. I've been eating with them since the last videos, and I don't find them too hard to eat with. I do find that the teeth function as a bit of a molar at the front of your mouth, which is interesting. They munch up food fairly well, for anyone who was curious. But I don't trust to bite down with them just yet. They still feel fake to me, even though I know they're real. I'll probably keep giving my little bits of insight about my teeth as the months go on while I'm getting used to them. That being said, I was never really able to eat corn on the cob or apples without cutting them up anymore, so the fact that I can't eat those anymore isn't much of a change for me, considering the Libre ruled that out a long time ago. That would be about the only thing that I would say I can't eat with these, since I didn't touch on that last time. Okay, enough about my stupid teeth. I'm sure some people don't want to hear about my friggin' teeth. I mentioned in the last video that I might have a session with Terry this week. I had that session sooner than I expected even. I had an appointment booked in for Thursday with him, potentially, and his Wednesday bailed, so we figured we may as well just do it. I was not dressed for the occasion. When I get a sleeve tattoo, cut-off shirt is okay, but I prefer to have a tank top, just because then you can pull down a strap if you're going up on your shoulder or whatever. Luckily for me, I was able to just use my cut-off t-shirt. I put my head through the cut-off sleeve, and away I went. Looked a little bit like, I don't know, like a barbarian or something. Just the one sleeve up, one sleeve down thing. Or like an old wrestler wearing a singlet or something. It's a good look for me. Anyway, I'll put some pictures of what that looked like in the video here for everyone. I was taken by surprise at this session. Like I said, I wasn't really expecting it, and sometimes that's for the best with tattoos, and then sometimes that's for the worst. For example, I wasn't super into the idea of being tattooed today. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm glad we got it done. But I find that, like, when I know I'm getting tattooed, I do some, like, mental prep that I'm not aware of, almost. Like, it's not like I'm, like, focusing any energy on it, but when you know you're getting tattooed, you set yourself up for it, right? Being taken by surprise with tattoo isn't quite as, I don't know. I feel like I'm somewhat off my game. Now, that being said, it can actually be for the best too, because when you just do something spur of the moment like that, you have no anxiety around the matter at all. Not that I have any anyway, but like, I can imagine young into my tattoo career, we'll call it, or journey, going for a random tattoo appointment that I wasn't expecting, say I was getting my armpit tattooed out of nowhere, I think that would have been better off than the first time I got my armpit tattooed. The first time I got my armpit tattooed, I built up a lot of anxiety around the matter, and I think because a lot of people were talking about how painful armpit tattoos are and how much they hurt, and only crazy people would get their armpit tattooed, all that crap. None of that was true. I'm here to tell you I've had one of my armpits tattooed 11 times and the other one tattooed 10 times. And it's never met up to the hype that there's been about it. So sometimes the anxiety we build up around the tattoo actually ends up making it worse than it actually is, or we spend too much time thinking about something that we're not gonna really be in for very long. So that's my little nugget of wisdom here is you're gonna spend more time worrying about it than it's gonna take you to get it done. And once you sit down, it's not like you're gonna die, so you're gonna walk away from it, and you're gonna walk away from it with something theoretically that you get to keep forever for just a little bit of pain. So anyway, I'll show off what we did finally for the people who are like, shut up, Remy, it's enough. I'm still bloody, I haven't cleaned myself up. I'm gonna take like a quick hot shower when I get home. That's what I always do. I actually have been looking forward to showing off a fresh red on black session. Fresh meaning like I haven't cleaned it up, and there's still obviously blood in the mix. I got this done in the morning. We started this at like 9:30 and we were done before 1. So I think the first pass that we did all this, we have up here done too. I think the first time we did all this, it took us around 5.5, 6 hours, but the second pass went way quicker. I always talk about this, and I finally got a chance to show it off and explain it. Skim runs, I don't consider like a full second pass. This is going to need more of a full second pass. The lower arm, as I've said, is a bit more purple. There's more black in the mix than there is red. So again, that's going to be more of a full second pass. A skim run, the way I differentiate the two is this just needs polishing, or like a buff. It needs a little bit of work, but it's not a full redo. Even though you skim lightly the whole area, when you're doing something like red on black, I'll make it real salient here. Red on black is going to take a lot to pack in, right? So you're really working the skin really hard. When you work the skin really hard, you're doing all kinds of damage to the skin while you're there too. Whether you're efficient or not, you just are. So the area is going to swell more. It's also going to bleed more. And what happens when we swell and bleed is we don't keep as much color saturation. So we did keep quite a bit of it. So when you go into the second skim run, what happens is the area doesn't need to be worked that hard. So in turn, it doesn't need, since it doesn't need to be worked that hard, it doesn't swell as much, it doesn't bleed as much, and you keep more of the work. You're also working on an area that's already had some red saturated over the black. So half of your job, or more than half of your job, is already done. And with most of these kinds of things, like what happened with the chest piece and how I said the second pass wouldn't fade when we did the second pass colors, which was true, and you can see it. Most of your work there is done. The color's already in there, you're just brightening it up. Now this includes blackout, because obviously I don't talk too much about blackout specifically anymore because I'm not doing it myself anymore. But it's the same thing for blackouts, and why even famous black workers won't guarantee for example, a one-shot black elbow. I know for a fact that a very famous black worker, Walker, he'll do a one-shot black arm, but he won't guarantee the elbow. And there's most likely going to be some touch-ups too. But I've heard from now a few people who have been tattooed by Walker, they've gotten black arms. It's always, we're going to touch up your elbow. That's not because you can't saturate an elbow, it's because your elbow is dry. It hooks onto the ink, same as your fingers do. I've talked about that ad nauseum. and you can't possibly clean out all the black ink that's clogging up the skin, so you can't really tell what's saturated and what isn't. There's also just this fact that when you're saturating skin and you're working it really hard and it's swelling, you can't really see every little bit of it to tell whether it's saturated. Sometimes you just have to wait and see what it looks like when it's healed, and it's better to wait to saturate it again when it's healed than it is to overwork and destroy someone's skin, leaving you at risk of losing a lot of the work that you are doing. I like to think of that as working against yourself, or causing infection or scarring or just bad healing in general. We'll leave it at that. I was getting a big black bat, like a neotrad bat with 3 eyes on the front of my left thigh, like real high up. And that bat, the artist who was doing it wasn't sure of his depths, so he was working the skin very, very difficult, like very hard. And I actually had to tell him, not because I was in too much pain, but because I'd been around tattoos so long already. At this point, I was already in 400 or 500 hours. I told him, I said, "Bud, now you're doing damage and you're actually working against yourself. Now, whatever you've got in there, the more you do, you're actually losing saturation to some extent, because the more you risk overworking that skin, the more it's going to swell, the more it's going to bleed, the more I'm going to scar. It's time to pack it up for the day, and it's dark enough." And that was one of the worst healing tattoos I had in a while, but if I hadn't have interjected, even as the client, it's a little hard to give your tattooer advice as the client. But had I not done that, I probably would have had a lot of bad scar tissue there and put a possible infection. But because I've been overworked so many times in my life already, I know what to watch for. So, that being said, seasoned tattooer generally won't push the skin past its limits. People have slagged Rick for pushing or not doing a lot of work each session, but Rick won't risk scar tissue. It's part of why we've been able to do this. That's part of why I have so much work that's got work on work, is because I'm working with, primarily working with an artist that won't cause damage to the skin past an undue amount. So yeah, it's always better to plan on doing if you're doing full color, it's always better to plan on doing multiple sessions. I think break it up, let the work heal, let it breathe, come back to it with a clear head, and see what the skin actually looks like. I can guarantee that this pass is going to take better, and my plan all along with this was to do 2 passes for all kinds of reasons I already mentioned. So yeah, this will be much more red now. When I show it off next time, it's not going to be this bright, and that is not my plan. The plan is for it to be more solid and more red, where here we have patchy kind of purple. What we want is more like what we've got up here already. So that's more the goal. No one's expecting it to be bright red. We would have used a bright red like we did over here if we wanted that, because that hasn't aged. So for the people who are thinking, well, Remy, that red on black's pretty dark, we did that on purpose. We have brighter red on black already. Anyway, yeah, so next week, hopefully I'll be healed enough down here. There's still a little bit of tissue damage, but I think we'll be good to go on the second pass of the lower arm. And from there, we just have one more run of touch-ups, unless I decide to color the thorns, which I'm not sure on yet. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.